Hey folks, this is Kelani. Patch 8.2.5 just went live, so that means a whole bunch of new content to sink your teeth into, right? Well, that's usually the case, but you might have been having a bit of a hard time actually finding the content in patch 8.2.5. From what you're shown on the welcome screen when you log in, and from the patch notes that we have, there doesn't seem to be a great deal to keep you occupied in this mini patch. Now, 0.5 patches are typically a little smaller than their whole number counterparts. They mainly bridge the gap between huge content patches like 8.2, where we had new zones, new storylines, even a new raid. But 0.5 patches typically have something to do, so let's figure out what that something is for 8.2.5. What is there to actually do in this latest patch for World of Warcraft? The major point of this patch is to wrap up the war campaign, so that's probably what you should be getting done first. Head on over to your factions port or general war campaign-y area and you should find a quest to pick up to kick everything off. A few quests and 2 awesome cinematics later and you're done. Honestly, it takes maybe 20 to 30 minutes depending on how many times you go AFK, so it's not really all that much content, but it is important content. Knowing how this chapter of the game ends is going to be important if you're interested in the story going forward. I guarantee we'll see some pretty big shifts in how the game plays and also in the storytelling in the future. I don't think we'll ever see another Horde versus Alliance all-out war, certainly not World Tree burning, anything goes war at any rate. So if you log into the next patch or the next expansion and wonder why we're all buddy-buddy, what happened to the Horde, and why we're suddenly knee-deep in void or death stuff, it's probably because you didn't finish the war campaign. It doesn't take too long, and if you're interested in the story in even the slightest bit, that's probably the most important part of patch 8.2.5 for you to get done. Right, war campaign done, hugs and kisses shared with the opposite faction. What now? There is another storyline that started in patch 8.2.5, the return of Wrathion. Or more like the search for Wrathion, I guess, because we're desperately trying to figure out where he is after all this time, because we need his help now that N'Zoth is free. An old god being free is never going to be a good thing, but apparently some of us have it worse off than others. Black dragons in particular seem quite sensitive to N'Zoth's corruptive influence, which kind of explains why Deathwing fell under his thrall so easily, which means our good friend Ebonhorn is in dire straits. To fix him we need to find Wrathion, which is going to be a huge undertaking considering he's been missing for several expansions and all he ever does is spy on us with his bodyguards. But hey, it's a good thing the new Recruit a Friend gear is exploration themed, right? We're going to need it to find and recruit Wrathion as one of our good friends. To start this quest chain you'll need to have the Circle of Stars achievement, which you can get from killing Zakul and Ajara on normal or higher difficulty I believe, and you also need to finish the war campaign and earn the Veteran of the 4th War achievement. When you have those 2 achievements in your pocket, you can find one of Magni's pals hanging around in Boralis or at the port of Zandalar depending on which faction you're playing. That's the main stuff for the Horde, but if you're playing Alliance right now, or just so happen to have an Alliance character as well, you can start working towards something else, the B-Mount. Remember the B-Mount? Data mined forever ago, teased too many times and now finally available, but only if you're Alliance. You're going to need a few things to get this started too. The first is a bee pet. You can use the Bumble's pet or the Sea Breeze Bumblebee. Bumbles comes from a quest chain in Stormsong Valley and then a set of 7 daily quests. That's going to take a little bit to get, while the Sea Breeze Bumblebee comes from the Stormswake reputation and costs 250 polished pet charms. Bumbles is probably easier to get, he just takes a little bit of time. The Sea Breeze Bumblebee is more expensive I would say, but if you have the required reputation and the polished pet charms already, you can just go pick him up immediately. When you get one of these bee pets, you can hop on over to Barry near his little boat by the Meadenhall Meadery and he sets you off on a quest. While you can get the Bumble's pet by using a free class trial for all of the daily quests, you do have to be level 120 to start anything related to the Mount grind. If you don't have a level 120 Alliance character, this isn't something you can take part in whatsoever right now. Apparently the bee mount also can't be used on a Horde character yet, so even if you level an Alliance to get the mount, you would still be restricted to Alliance only characters while riding around on it. It's a bit of a shame, really, that I won't be able to do any of this properly anytime soon, but I guess the Alliance didn't really get anything special recently, so it might just be their turn. The mount grind consists of a new reputation that you'll have to farm, and you can do that in a variety of ways. It's not really strictly time-gated. If you throw hours and hours at this grind, you can probably get it all done really quickly, but there are some activities that you can only do once per day that reward a good chunk of rep. I'll give you a link to the Wowhead guide for farming this mount in the comments section below, because it'd be a bit difficult for me to try and show you how to do this when I don't have an Alliance character already leveled up. The good news is that if you don't have an Alliance character to get the B mount right now, well, that's also something you can do in patch 825. I'll be getting my druid up to max level sooner or later, poking around a few dungeons, doing a few quests here and there, taking advantage of time walking, of course. I'll get there before the next patch rolls around, that's for sure, and I'll pick up the B mount when there are a few less people swarming the spawn points for jelly and everything else. It should be a bit quicker later on when the majority of people have moved on, and seeing as you can't even start it without a 120 Alliance character, it's not like I can start it without leveling anyway. If you haven't dabbled in the Alliance side of this expansion yet, then that all awaits you as well, so I guess that's one more thing you can work towards in 825 if you're struggling to find things to do. And now you have a buzzy B mount to look forward to as well as everything else. And that's kind of it for the immediately available content. Anything else that's cool or exciting in 825 is something you're going to have to wait for. The anniversary event, for example, is coming up in November. It looks like it's going to be quite promising. The 5-year milestones usually have a bit more content or excitement to offer. This time around we'll be able to take part in more time-walking-ish raids. Instead of it being an entire raid, we'll be pitted against very specific bosses from the Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, and Cataclysm expansions. The chosen bosses are key enemies from the past. For the Burning Crusade, we'll see Kael'thas Sunstrider, Lady Vash, and Archimonde. From the Wrath of the Lich King, we'll see Hagen the Unclean, Anubarak, and the Lich King, and for Cataclysm, we'll be fighting Cho'Gall, Nefarian, and Ragnaros. Those are some awesome encounters for sure, and some very difficult ones as well. You've probably seen all the rewards a million times, but you get a dashing Deathwing mount if you take down all the bosses during the event. So that should be a lot of fun, but we're still going to have to wait until November, which again is a bit of a drag. By that point we'll probably all be super excited about the BlizzCon news and looking even further forward into the next expansion, but at least we'll have something to do in-game during the month of November. A new Time Walking raid was also introduced in 825. You'll be able to take part in the Firelands raid whenever Cataclysm Time Walking rolls around. Right now we have the Warlords of Draenor Time Walking event, which means we have to go through the entire cycle before you'll see Cata again. That's a while, quite a while in fact. You'll be waiting even longer on this than you will be for the anniversary event. The next time Cata Time Walking comes around is December 10th. So yeah, that's not something we'll be able to take part in anytime soon, but keep an eye out for it, I guess. The rest of the updates in this patch don't really provide much extra content at max level, but they do make a few changes to the leveling process, or how you can approach leveling at least. Recruit a Friend is back with all the new rewards and a different rewards structure. You can earn various items from the usual mounts, transmog gear, and even a backpack. All of these rewards are definitely a desert-themed Indiana Jones style, which still bothers me a little bit. I wish these rewards were tied to archaeology or something else slightly more relevant in-game. But oh well. If you have any friends that are on the fence about playing WoW, you can get some bonus experience while playing together, and you can get free game time if they play long enough. You'll also both have access to Classic WoW, seeing as that's tied into the same sub, so double the fun for you and your friends. Again, not necessarily new content, but it might help keep you busy in other areas of the game. There's also the Party Sync feature, which will allow you to play with almost anyone at any level, regardless of what level you actually are. If you want to bring some friends or family into the game but hate the idea of making yet another alt, you can just group up with your main character and use the level sync feature to scale yourself down to the party member's level. The main benefit of doing this is that you can still play alongside whoever you want, but you won't be stealing all of their experience. Because you scale down appropriately, you also won't be one-shotting everything, so it's kind of like you're making an alt without having to actually make the alt. You'll get to keep all your flashy gear too. You can also redo quests that you've already completed, so you're able to play along instead of just tagging along. You can hop into dungeons with them, battlegrounds, Pretty much everything that was level locked before is now open season. I don't think there's really that many restrictions on this new system. You're always scaled down to the lowest party member, so you won't be able to take your super new friend into any raids or anything until they get leveled up, but for the most part you can literally play with anyone now. The good news is that you also gain level appropriate rewards even when you scale down. So if you quest through Ashenvale with a friend and you're level 110, you should be getting good experience and good quest rewards, both golden items. You could actually level up your ults like this if you really wanted to, and if you had friends who wanted to quest with you. Levels won't restrict you from playing together ever again. Well, that's assuming you want to play with your friends. There's always that one chap, isn't there? Mark. It's probably a Mark. Let's just hope Mark doesn't learn about the party sync feature, but the rest of you can happily level together in patch 825. And that's more or less everything you have to do in patch 825. If you're struggling to find something to do in game right this very second relating to the new patch, that's probably because there isn't really that much to do. There's some changes here and there which affect older parts of the game like leveling, but as for brand spanking new content you can rip to shreds right now, the war campaign and the Wrathion quest is kind of all you have. The B-mount will keep Alliance players busy for a bit for sure, but after that's done you're back to tapping your foot, probably until November as we've talked about previously. BlizzCon should give us a lot of information, and I doubt they would even want to leak any part of patch 8.3 if they can avoid it. Let's hope whatever they have in store for us is awesome and magical and big. BlizzCon needs to be big, otherwise we might not see another large resurgence of WoW players again. At least we have Classic to tie us over as well, and I know I keep bringing this up, but if you're not doing anything in BfA right now and you're still paying your sub, I think not playing Classic is a bit of wasted potential really. Some parts of Classic are frustrating and annoying, sure, but it's also a lot of fun for very different reasons when compared to BfA. The frustrating parts also gave me a different perspective about BfA, and I realised that we are actually pretty lucky in some instances. I don't want to see every system or feature that makes Classic brought into BfA, but playing a different version of the same game can be really interesting sometimes. Give it a shot if you haven't already. We've got a long wait until November either way. But that's all that patch 8.2.5 has to offer right now. What do you think of patch 8.25 so far? Is it okay for this patch to be a bit smaller so it can pave the way for some huge update later? What do you think we'll see at BlizzCon this year for World of Warcraft? Leave all your thoughts in the comments section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.